played Warband. So just where we left off, having fought and defeated those set of looters, I'm now going to go on, hopefully recruit my last set of Rodok recruits. But we've run into some more bandits. Now these are mounted bandits. There are various types of bandits in this game actually. So you can get forest bandits, and also when you're near the kind of coastal areas, you can get some things called sea raiders, who are much tougher kind of enemies. And obviously here you can see the screen. You've obviously got two kind of speech options when you're talking to this bandit. So you can choose to pay him, or you can say you're going to fight him. Now there's actually 4 in my party, including me, and there are only 5 more bandits. So I think I'm going to fight them again, just to improve the training of my troops. Obviously it gives you a summary as well of what the troops numbers are. Unfortunately, by the time you got to this screen, if you weren't concentrating when you went into the fight, and you see the numbers and they don't add up very well in your favour, it can obviously be problematic. But actually if you're outnumbered, especially when you're fighting as say a mercenary with one of the factions against an enemy faction, you get an increased amount of what they call renown for fighting battles where you're outnumbered, or where the odds are stacked against you. So you might have seen at the beginning, there's at the bottom left of the screen, it said there was a renown value of 3 for this battle. It's partially because I'm outnumbered and the mountain bandits are relatively well armoured, and obviously they also have a few bowmen as well, which is slightly more difficult to counter. Also, what you may have just noticed is my horse actually has damage. So horses can get killed, which is obviously problematic. Now, once horses get killed, you actually fall off. And once you fall off, you have to. There's like an animation where your character has to physically get up, which obviously leaves you very vulnerable. So you have to be careful about whether your horse gets killed or not. Obviously, spears tend to be the best thing for killing horses, so you've got to avoid them. And obviously, there's various kind of weapon reaches, and obviously you've got to be careful fighting against spearmen, and particularly people with good armour. But obviously what I can keep doing is just running into the AI with my horse, and hopefully I'll do some damage to them. I think one of my troops is going to die. So I want to... it's okay, he's only been knocked unconscious, that's not too bad. It's just... So the AI in this game are not always great to play with. Because as you can see, like he was just standing there, stabbing at him with a pitchfork. Your AI, especially when they're not very high level units, tend to not be very smart, so they'll easily run in, and just because of the way the AI is designed, they'll attack at really unfortunate times. Also with the shields, when you're not holding your shield up, you can't be protected from an attack. So what the AI tend to do is they hold up their weapon, like waiting to do an attack, and then immediately the enemies just stab them right as they're vulnerable. So as you can see here, I'm going to have to do some prioritising with my inventory because it's full, but these items are fancier and they're going to be sold for a lot more. So what I think I'll do is either keep some of the items myself or sell them off. So I know that stone's the least valuable of all the items I've got, so they're going to be the first things I replace and get rid of. So this is a Nordic sword, so let's see whether this is better than my current sword. So it's got a swing of 28 damage and thrust 20, speed rating is 99 and weapon reach is 94. So I mainly look for the speed rating and weapon reach. So the weapon reach is actually a bit shorter and it's the same speed rating. There's an increased swing damage, so I think I will actually take it because there's not a massive difference in the reach. And then all the rest of this I'll probably just sell. So I'll just replace the cheapest items, and obviously you can compare what the buying price is here with what the buying price says in here, and then you can obviously replace items as you feel the need. You also get different levels of the items. So for instance, you can see like descriptions of rusty or like bent, and they obviously mean that those weapons have slightly less good stats on them. And that only tends to happen in the single player game, so obviously it just means that they have a decreased selling price and not as good. You can also see there's certain requirements for certain weapons. So if hovering over this javelin, you can see the red at the bottom there. It says I require power throw of 1, and that's one of my skills which I obviously can update as I level. So obviously if I want to be able to use javelins and throwing weapons, I need to be able to put a point on power throw so that they can use those javelins. So let's see, what else can I replace? So those boots don't sell for very much. You do have to be aware though that when taking on some of these items, the buying price it suggests when you get them will not be the same as the buying price when you actually sell them at any of the cities, because unfortunately the price tends to decrease because, you know, there's to a certain extent some realistic market effects here, but also, as I said with my trading skill earlier, because I've got a relatively low trading skill, I can't sell as well. I can't like haggle. Basically, a trading skill is really a haggling value, really. So how good a price can you get for these goods? But obviously, it still makes you money, and it'll still, you know, the price fall will still be comparative across all the items. So the items that were worth less will still be worth less than the other more expensive items once all the prices have fallen. So let's see, it's 12 dinars, and this is all less worth less than that. So yeah, okay. So that's all my items sorted. Obviously, I can increase the amount I can hold in my inventory as well if I want. So what you may have seen there, it says in green, some soldiers are ready to upgrade. So in order to upgrade your soldiers, click on the party button. You click on the particular troop you want. And then you'll get choices. So the first level of unit for each recruit is a very basic level, so they're not specialised into anything. So obviously you specialise into certain types of units, so you have either cavalry units, like heavier infantry units and ranged units. In order to get upgraded to cavalry, you tend to have to go through the infantry unit first and then on. Once you train as a crossbowman, for instance, or an archer, you can only be a better archer or a better crossbowman. So, what do I want? I'm going to say that I want 2 spearmen, because seeing as there's not many of us in this group, I probably want a fair amount of hand-to-hand, but I want 1 crossbowman, because I wouldn't mind some ranged weapons. You can also see the state of your units there. So you can see that it says 0 out of 1 for crossbowmen. That means that so you can see how many crossbowmen you have. The 0 means that the only crossbowman we have is actually too injured to fight, so we have to wait for him to heal up, and then he'll be able to fight. And obviously the same for the spearman. There's 1 out of 2, so only 1 of the spearmen is actually willing and able enough to fight. So hopefully I can get to this next village without too much fuss. This is Chaser, and I've got 2 more tribesmen, so that's 5 recruits. So that's good. So hopefully I can go back to Jelkala and go and meet the merchant again. And that's probably the longest it's ever taken for me to get recruits on this one. It's really weird, there wasn't very many recruits. Also there's a caravan there you can see. So caravans of all the different factions will go to the various other cities, either within the faction or they'll go to a separate faction's city in order to trade. The other the good thing about caravans is they carry a lot of very expensive items. So once you get a big enough warband, as the game's named after, you can actually start attacking enemy factions. For caravans, you can get a lot of nice items, but again, they're relatively heavily defended, so you have to be careful. So I have to visit the tavern again in order to meet the merchant, and Jelkala, who is over there. Now, there's taverns in all cities, and taverns are actually where you can meet lots of people. So you can see this guy, because he's got a name, Marnid, means that he's another hero character that you can have with you in your group. Now, hero characters are slightly different to the rest of the AI, because they actually have a backstory, and they also they'll give you their opinions as well on how you're fighting and what you're doing. So I'm just going to move. They'll all have different skill sets as well, so they'll have a certain base level of skills. They might be really good engineers, they might be really good fighters. I'm not really fussed about having hero characters with me, like other AI heroes. I don't know, like, especially also, once you get 2 or more, they can actually start arguing with each other and falling out. And also, I don't know, I'm just never particularly fussed. Like, I think they sometimes fight better than the rest of the AI, but they're not that great. And you also have to give them armour, whereas with the AI, you can upgrade them and they'll automatically get improved armour as you upgrade them. With the hero characters, you actually have to give them physical pieces of armour and an inventory, like yourself. You can also recruit AI, mainly mercenaries here, So mercenaries are more expensive and you have to pay them a lot more per week, but obviously they tend to be better fighters. So if you really want to just bulk up some numbers without having to bother to recruit and train people up, you can buy mercenaries, but obviously they're expensive. So obviously there'll be a randomised amount of them, so there's 5 of them, because there's this guy and 4 others. And obviously, he said all of them will join me for 615 dinars. Now, if you don't have enough dinars, then you can just choose to recruit less of them, or recruit as many as you can afford. I don't really need mercenaries at the moment because I'm only doing the most basic quest. And also, they're too expensive for me to afford. So let's go over to the merchant and talk to him. Okay, he says we don't have enough men in our party. That's actually because there's not enough uninjured men in the party, which is a slight problem. So whilst we might have to ride around a bit and wait for them to heal up, which is kind of annoying. Maybe I should increase my first aid training. Anyway, so I'm going to sell off all the items we have. So obviously you've got different. So if you saw, so go to the marketplace, you get different types of swords. So you can go to arms, armor, horse, and goods. You probably want to sell the right type of stuff to the right seller. I don't know whether it matters that much price wise. I think it matters a certain amount. So obviously I'm going to sell all the weapons to this guy, and then the weapons include shields. You can obviously also buy better weapons from these people just as much as finding them. And when you get to a certain amount of level, a certain kind of level of with your character, you tend to actually want to have weapons bought from some of these places. Because sometimes you just can't get better weapons all the time, or the drops don't go in your favour. So we sold all that, and then it also says in the middle here how much money you're going to get for each of your items. So I got 194 dinars, so that's good. Next, sell all the armour. I don't think I actually want to keep any of this for myself, because I don't think any of it had any particularly good values, or it wasn't any better than my current armour. So get rid of all of this. If you press Control and left click, it'll automatically sell or move something. So sell all this. So I got 78 dinars, that's good. So goods is where you can buy food or sell food if you want. It's also where you can sell goods that are kind of like non-consumable. So if you raid or take caravans, or even if you can actually raid villages as well, you'll get certain non-consumable items that you can sell in particular cities. And there's actually a kind of market economy feature in this game, insofar as certain cities will specialise in producing certain things. So for instance here we can see that Jelkala has a lot of pottery. So if you tried to sell pottery here, you wouldn't get a very good price, whereas if you sold it in another city that doesn't specialise in it, you'd probably get a much higher price. You can also see that they've got quite a lot of dyes, and they've got 2 hides, which is quite a lot. And obviously they only have 1 of certain other items. So the more they produce of something, the less likely you want to sell it to them, because you won't get as good a price. So that means you can hold on to goods and try and find the best kind of price in the various cities. Obviously the more food of a particular type they have, the cheaper that will be. But also some foods are just kind of cheap anyway. Grain tends to be the cheapest kind of food, but as you can see, it doesn't add a lot to morale of the party. So once you recruit people, there's a certain amount of morale you keep in the party. Now if you lose a lot of battles, you tend to lose morale. Also, if you run out of food, you start losing morale, or if you don't have enough food to support the amount of men you have. So obviously it's cheap because it doesn't add a lot of morale to your party. Bread tends to be another kind of staple that's not too expensive, that adds a lot more morale to your party. It's obviously fish. Also giving troops a greater variety in their diet by buying, for instance, bread and grain and maybe cheese and meat will also improve the morale. So having a varied diet helps them. Sausages aren't too expensive for a meat. So I think I should go for some pork there, because it doesn't cost less than the sausages but more morale. The only thing is, with some foods they actually go rotten once you've been travelling on the map for a certain amount of time. So once that happens, they obviously can't eat it, so it doesn't add any morale to your party. So that's more than enough food really for the party I have at the moment, because it's very small. So there's various things you can do in cities. You can go to the castle, and there you can either speak to whoever owns the city, and in the capital city it's normally the king. There might be other visiting nobles there. Sometimes nobles as AI will host feasts, and they'll have other members of their family and other members of the nobility there. You can also just walk around the streets, and you get to speak to. There's like, it's not a merchant, but it's like there's a head of like a guild in each city, and they can give you quests on behalf of the city, or you can also purchase various kind of production facilities there. For instance, you can buy a brewery or buy a kind of silk manufacturing or a furnace or something, so you can and that'll provide you with a certain amount of income. They obviously cost a lot to buy, and also depend on how much raw materials cost to buy. For instance, buying in iron for like a smithery. And also visit the tavern, which I've shown you. You can also enter the arena. So arenas are where you can actually fight with, basically get given no armour really, and you get given random weapons to you. They tend to be all the basic kind of weapons. You get to fight a certain amount of people. If you beat all those people, you get money. You still get money if you don't beat everybody, but the more people you manage to defeat, the more money you get. So I'll actually show you the arena for a bit, because it's kind of interesting. Also, so you see that you have to talk to a tournament master in order to get in. And also when you go to something for the first time, they'll explain to you what it is in the game, which is useful. So you like ask questions when you don't know what something is, or when your character doesn't know what something is. So I'm going to agree to join the tournament. There are also tournaments held. So these are basically, they're the same thing as the arena. You get given slightly different armour and get put into kind of coloured teams. And you can actually bet on yourself in a tournament. And you can bet on yourself to win. You also get money for winning the tournament. So a good way to make money is, on the rare occasion that there's a tournament being held in a city, you can actually go and fight in the tournament and hopefully bet on yourself to win, and if you win then you'll make an awful lot of money, which is useful. You'll also notice that I might lose this now. It'll possibly because I'm bad, though I am blocking a lot of shots. The other problem is I obviously don't have very high skill points in, for instance, Iron Flesh, so I don't have a massive amount of hit points. And I don't have a great amount of specialisation in any of my weapons. So obviously that can be a problem. So obviously if you get hit too many times you can't defend yourself, which is kind of unfortunate. But I did manage to beat up a few people. I did get 5 dinars for beating 4 people. I think there's a maximum of about, if you beat all 50 then you get the full prize in arenas. That's the maximum. Yeah, sweet. Right, so I think we have to wander around a bit and wait for our people to heal so we can continue this Jelkala quest. Yeah, so I need 5 meds. How many are up and at them? So I just need the other 2 to basically heal. So let's just wander around a bit. Let's see. Also, if you click on character, that takes you through to your own attributes, and I forgot that I've leveled up twice. So each time you level, you get 1 more attribute point. I think if you give yourself an intelligence point, you get an extra skill point every time you increase your intelligence. So I think I'm going to increase my strength, then my intelligence, because it's quite low. I think I'll give myself another Iron Flesh because it's always useful to have a lot of hit points. I think shield would be good because I want to be able to protect myself. What else? Possibly first aid so I can hurry up them healing. Let's increase my this thing because I've officially got a crossbow, but I want to have a normal bow and arrow in the future. So I've upgraded all my points. That's good. Yeah, so the map's pretty big, and obviously the regions vary. So obviously you'll notice that the Kingdom of Rhodox is very mountainous, whereas if you go over here, so I'll show you the map a bit actually. The orange here is the Kingdom of Swadia. Swadia tends to be quite flat. It's also got some coast. Kingdom of Nords here, the blue, I think it's officially called cyan, the colour. It's got a lot of coast, also kind of close to some of the snowy parts. And then you've got Kingdom of Vaegirs here in this kind of browny grey, mainly snowy terrain, ever so slightly mountainous, a little bit of coast, quite a few forests. And then next to them is the Kurgan Khanate and all this purple. So they're kind of the basis here is basically what they call the Asian steppes. So steppes is spelled S-T-E-P-P-E-S, but it's like in reference to kind of a weird this kind of slight weird sloping motion. You know, not quite simply mountains, but lots of these kind of cliff type things. You know, all kind of coming down. I think is basically what steppe means. And then to the east of the Kurgan Khanate, you have the Sarandid Sultanate, which are in a desert. So that's all the factions. So interestingly, Mount and Blade Warband is actually the second game in the series. So there's an original just called Mount and Blade, which only had single player and no multiplayer. It also didn't have the Sarandid Sultanate, so this bit of the map actually got added on, because this never existed before, and it was actually just the 5 groups. They also have this kind of weird thing where there's like loads of extra space on the map, and I don't know whether that's because they plan to expand. You can't actually go that far. I also don't think you can actually go on the sea, not in an unmodded version of Warband. But anyway, let's zoom back into where we are. So I'm really hoping these guys heal soon. Another way I could wait for them to heal is I could stay in a city, so you can choose to like stay overnight in a city for a certain amount of time. But that obviously costs you money. But I have just noticed, it's a good thing I stopped, there's loads of deserters. So sometimes you get deserters from the army, and they all being in fairly large, it's kind of smallish or medium-sized groups. But you have to be careful of deserters because because they've been in armies, they tend to be relatively high-level troops. So you actually don't want to run into them. So not only are they pretty high-level troops against my pretty basic troops, they also have double my numbers. So that's not really good. So I think I'm just going to wait for a period of time. I'll just stay one night and hopefully my men will be healed. And also when you wait somewhere, or if you lose to an enemy, you get captured by them and taken prisoner. So basically the map just automatically runs and things just happen, as you could see there. That, you know, lots of people moving about. So let's see, is my party recovered yet? Damn, I'm still missing this crossbow. Let's just wait for a bit longer. And also you can see that the game keeps auto-saving and stuff. It'll also update you about things that are happening, so you can see that certain lords will tell you if they get defeated in battle. And you'll also get kind of bigger alerts that will come up like it's a full screen, telling you, for instance, if a particular group is declared war, or if there are any alerts for you needing to go to war if you're a mercenary or a member of a faction. So let's see. My crossbowman is healed, so we can go onto this quest finally. I can't believe it took so long. Right, is the merchant still here? Yeah, and also like the AI tend to change places depending how many people are in the inn. It's really weird. And some inns have upstairs, so you have to check upstairs for certain characters sometimes. Okay, so he said I have too few men, even though he said I have 5. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I didn't realise he actually requires you to have more than 5. Normally I have more than 5 automatically because I tend to get a good recruitment from the villagers. But I didn't. It does say in the notes that collect 5 men. But he says that's not enough. That's weird. I've never had that happen before. Normally I always have more than necessary. I have at least 6 men. Normally, because the recruitment normally goes much better. Okay, here we go. So that's 5 people at a time. So that's more like what I was expecting. So let's go back, and we can finally get to the next stage of this quest. Right, is he happy now? Right. So they tell you that the bandits are near the town, and what you have to do is you have to intercept a certain group of bandits in order to find out where the specific location of the the hideout is. You won't be able to see the hideout on the map until you've met this specific group of bandits. You have to beat them, and then you interrogate a guy afterwards. But anyway, you'll see that in the next part of this Mountain Blade Warband little playthrough of the campaign. Well, the single player. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. I hope you like and subscribe. Like the video and subscribe to my channel. I hope if you've got any tips or advice or anything, other videos you'd like to see, or if you want me to see me do particular things in Warband, please leave a comment or personally message my channel. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks.